I want to bring into this conversation, and Ben, I hope you can stay where you are. Courtney is sitting here. She can't go too far because we're at the same table. Richard Engel, who's, of course, the chief foreign affairs correspondent. Richard, Courtney's frantically typing on her phone right now. I know you were in touch with a lot of people. What we didn't know at the top of the show or a few minutes ago is what they exactly had hit. Courtney gave us some updated reporting on that, how expansive this will be, if there are additional capabilities and capacities that were being used, who knew what when, I guess. I know you've been doing a lot of reporting. What do you know at this point? Give us your sense of what's happening.
So sources in Tehran described this as a very wide-scale attack, that it wasn't just nuclear facilities, that Iranian leaders were targeted, that residential compounds were hit, that top officials in the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, that top officials related to Iran's nuclear program were targeted. So there was a decapitation element to this attack to try and eliminate the leaders of Iranian leaders who were involved in the military or involved in the nuclear program. So attacks on sites, according to Prime Minister Netanyahu, dozens of Israeli aircraft were used to attack dozens of sites, including nuclear sites. And according to these sources in Iran, not just nuclear sites, but also leadership sites, residential compounds across the nation.
One of the big questions here is, of course, what the retaliation may look like. I don't know that they're going to predict that in advance, but you've been talking to sources there. What should we anticipate? What could it look like?
So I just returned from Iran relatively recently. I was there on 2 back-to-back trips, and the Iranians made it clear to me, both the Iranian people and the Iranian government, that they wanted to avoid this. They were engaged in the peace talks with the Trump administration in the hopes of avoiding this exact scenario. I spoke, first talk on the popular level, I spoke to many Iranians, young people, people who were out in businesses, in restaurants, in tech parks, and they told me many times they didn't want a confrontation with Israel. They didn't want a war with the United States. They were hoping that the U.S. And Iran would reach an agreement that could see sanctions lifted so Iranians could travel. They were optimistic. The currency in Iran was going up while I was there. People were making plans about the future, hoping that they could make a deal with a more transactional President Trump. Even though he had torn up the first nuclear agreement, they thought, OK, maybe Trump was just looking for a better deal and that they could get a better deal and avoid this situation. That's on a popular level and on a government level. The government officials told me repeatedly they didn't want a conflict. They wanted to reach a negotiated settlement. I spoke to a top official in the Supreme Leader's office who laid out terms. He said, this is what we expect. This is what we're hoping for. And he said that they wanted to enrich a very low level of uranium, or a low level of uranium. They wanted to get rid of the highly enriched uranium that they already have. This highly enriched uranium that apparently Israel now says was the reason why it targeted Iran at this moment. Although, like I said, top Iranian officials told me they were willing to get rid of it, and they were working out those details in ongoing negotiations. So this is something that the Iranians didn't want and were hoping to avoid with these negotiations that were, at least until a few hours ago, very much ongoing.
You know better than almost anyone, Richard, that they have to save face in moments like this. And I was asking Ben Rhodes about this. I asked Senator Adam Schiff about this, even as they wanted to pursue a negotiation and go back to a version of the deal that Trump ripped up years ago to get sanctions relief, as you said. Is that something they could do at this point, given these strikes?
Very likely that Iran will retaliate, because the Iranian government was also somewhat divided over this negotiated process. There are hardliners in Iran who were stressing that this was a waste of time, that the U.S. was just trying to fool Iran, was playing to sort of expose their weaknesses, that they would be duped in the end, that the Iranians shouldn't go down this path. and those hardliners will be proven right. Those who were pushing for negotiations are going to be in a very difficult position right now in Iran when they see what has just happened and what is apparently still going to be happening. So it seems very likely that Iran will respond, if only because of the domestic politics that it faces, because there are hardliners who said that this was the result that was coming, that this was something that Prime Minister Netanyahu was always going to do, and that the negotiations were fig leaf cover for this. So I think it's very likely we're going to see some sort of military response. The question is, does Iran have the capability to, especially now that it is under attack, to do the kind of damage against Israel that would force it to stop an ongoing military assault?